Kids, welcome back. I'll tell you, it's been so long, but it's only been 1 week. And guess what it is today? It's Christmas. Merry Christmas to all you little people out there that hopefully you've got something positive, not negative. Coal would be negative. Presents would be positive. Unless you go back to episode 8, I had coal. I had coal that I had to shovel into the furnace down in the cellar. And remember all those dead elm trees I was chopping down? Had to split them and then evenly put them into the furnace down in the basement, because that's the only way we got heat. Got heat back then. It's not like today. You don't have furnaces pretty much anymore. I don't think you kids even, unless you're somewhere where you got them. Hopefully you're cutting down dead elm trees or dead trees. So, what do we have for you today on Christmas? Well, Merry Christmas! And that might as well be the thumbnail. The thumbnail is going to be Christmas. What does it mean to you, kids? What does it mean to all you people that might be watching Uncle Martin on Christmas? Now, you might be watching me on the 4th of July down the road. Because it could happen. It could happen. That's the way these videos work, kids. You're gonna see Uncle Martin show up and say, whatever holiday it is. So far, I've done a few of them. And it could be another day. But it's the spirit of Christmas, kids, that we have to keep in our heart 365 days a year. Yeah, 365. That's how many days we got in a year. 365. So that's why we're going to do Christmas on Christmas. Makes sense. We have so many things on Christmas. It's called commercialism. That is basically, commercialism is what, it's an emphasis, excuse me, an emphasis on maximizing profit. That's what commercialism is. And that means anytime you watch a commercial, that means they want to sell you something. Even though sometimes it's so enjoyable to watch a commercial, they want to sell you something. Commercials are addicting, by the way. My stepdad, he was a principal, and mom and my stepdad, Don, would have dinner. And after dinner, we'd sit down and watch some TV. And I'd get that clicker immediately. When a commercial came up, I'd put mute. And he used to get really excited about that. Put that back on. I was watching that. You were watching a commercial? Don't you know what commercials do to you? And he wasn't really concerned. I did bring up episode 39, colors and subliminal, what they do to you. Nobody got that one. You should probably check out 39 someday. But right now we're on Christmas. And what does it mean to you, kids? See, for me, I guess it was my first 5th grade that Dad taught me a lesson. That Christmas, it's better to give than it is to receive. So I was learning that lesson in my first 5th grade in Millstone, New Jersey. And this is what Dad had. As you know, or don't know, my dad thought outside the box. So he said, this year, you're not going to get any presents. No presents? No, you're going to make presents. Make presents? So we went over to his school, wherever that was. I think it might have been in Edison, New Jersey. Could have been wherever. It wasn't Greenbrook. I made my arrow and shot it into the air. That one, no. It was another one. And what he had was, and it wasn't on Christmas. It was on Friday. We got out of school. So we went there Friday and Saturday, 2 days in a row. And what we had was, he was a teacher. Dad was a teacher, but he was teaching kids that had, well, kids that had some physical challenges, physically, and definitely mentally challenges. We all have challenges, kids, and these kids were in the special schools, as they say, and what we were all doing together was we had candy, big barrels of candy. It was hard candy, not chocolate. It was just hard candy. And we were getting the candy and put it into wrappers, wrapping them all up and tying them with a ribbon and kind of an assembly type of line or something. And we did that for 2 days. And I believe that was when Dad was saying this better. We were going to put little candies together for all the kids that didn't have any presents. That would just, we went around giving candy to different places where kids just didn't have presents or candy. So that was Dad's idea. And then I believe it was that year on Christmas, we ended up over at East Millstone, St. Joseph's over there, to where, yeah, that's what it was. The whole church had gifts for kids that didn't get any presents. Just happened to be Bro and me. And a few other people too, I'm sure. But I remember the tree, and I remember under the tree that they had presents, but it was only one present. It had on there Merry Christmas for a boy, and it had Merry Christmas for a girl. So Bro and we got a present, one present that Christmas. That showed me to be very grateful when you do get presents, kids. That Christmas isn't just to get presents, it's actually to give presents. See, that's what Dad was trying to get across to us. It's sort of like, I guess the year before that, when we were in Pluckerman, New Jersey, he was trying to get across to us also that we have food before us, to be grateful for it, and how he did that one for us to understand being grateful. Maybe we had breakfast and lunch. I don't remember what it was. Couldn't have been too much because I was starving by dinner. I was starving. Of course, I wasn't starving. I was just hungry. There's a difference between starving and being hungry. There's kids on this planet, kids, other places, and even in America, that are starving. They haven't had any food for days. That's kind of, well, they're, as I said in the past, when you want to not eat and go for being a breatharian on that level, that's fine, your free choice. When you don't get that choice and you're being deprived food, that's negative. So a lot of kids are not deciding that they want to be a breatharian at this time. They want food. So Dad was trying to get across being grateful for food when you have it before you. So all we got that day in Pluckerman, New Jersey, I remember, I was 9 years old. So that would have been, my second, third grade. And all we had was rye bread. Now, it was fantastic rye bread, because if you ever back east, Jersey, New York, you know what a fresh rye bread is. And I was telling Dad, I said, there's no way that this is dinner, Dad. I'm looking in the refrigerator and there's food. He says, no, no, we're having rye bread and butter. That's our dinner. I was very upset. I was very upset at that. And then, well, we said grace over the rye bread and butter. And then he cut out the slices and everybody got their slice of rye bread. And when I tasted that, it was very tasty. It was delicious, as fresh rye bread is anyway. It had caraway seeds in it, by the way. But even to this day, when I get fresh rye bread and have butter, it brings me back to that time period when I was 9 years old. And I saw the necessity to be grateful for the food that's before you. And it's also very grateful to be getting a present. We forget these things, kids, because of commercialism. It starts up, as your parents and guardians have probably told you, Christmas seems to be getting right after Halloween. Definitely right after Thanksgiving. We can't wait to see what we're going to get when we're kids. But we lose the concept of what Christmas is all about, kids. It's about a little fella that was born a couple thousand years ago, and he was born in a manger with a bunch of animals around, and we kind of forget all the things that he came here to talk about, for us to see. This was a time in the Piscean age, where now we're coming into the Aquarian age. Now the Piscean age, they didn't have really much love and understanding. In fact, there was a lot of things going on, probably as they are right now, but I know it's a touchy topic. And you know how I feel about touchy topics. I prefer not to go there, as you well know. If you've ever looked at any of my past episodes, I stay away from touchy topics. But I'm going to make an exception this time. There was a person called Jesus that came, laid down his life to show us love and understanding is the way to go. Even for the most negative people, or positive people, or people that can't make a choice, that we're here to manifest love and understanding, love and light from our heart to everyone. As hard as that may sound, it is possible to do. Now, you're not going to start right overnight doing this. You have to first think about trying it before you can even start as a foundation. The words were that if we have faith the size of a mustard seed. Lucy, you okay over there? That's my 23-year-old dog over in the corner drinking water and having a good time. It's a little cold outside, so I brought her in. I'll put her on film when I say my 23-year-old dog that I talked about in episode 47. I think she got a hold of a bone that I gave her or something. I hope you're doing okay, girl. Yeah, sounds like she has to go out, but not right now. We're right in the middle of something. So we have the faith of a mustard seed. Well, how big is a mustard seed? It's one of the smallest seeds that you want to plant, other than maybe an orchid. Orchid's even smaller than a mustard seed. But the mustard seed, I believe, is something 0.0, you know my numbers, 0.039 to 0.079 millimeters. That's pretty small, kids. That's smaller than that right there. So if you plant a mustard seed, you'll get the biggest plant in the garden. In fact, it's so big the branches are big enough to where birds will land in it to get out of the sun to have shade. So such a small little seed that when planted, it will grow. And I believe that was the concept. The kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed. Yet when planted, it grows and becomes bigger than any plant in the garden. We also have it as an analogy of your faith being as small as a mustard seed. You can say to a mountain, I want you to move from here to over here. And it will. It'll do that. Because you have that faith. Now, I believe the concept also is once you have that power to do such a thing, excuse me, you won't do it. But you're able to do it. Now, the concept is that there's nothing will be impossible to you when you have faith. Now, faith, Pythagoras, Apollonius, Plato, all the greats, and Jesus, and quite a few other people said, if you have a sickness or you're got a disease, faith will heal it. All you have to have is the faith. The problem with that, kids, is this planet doesn't have very much faith. That's why there's not many people coming out of the situation that they're in. But it can be done with faith. There's a situation I had. I didn't want to bring it up because it's touchy. It has to do with, I guess, my second grade nun. As you know, if you've followed me from the beginning of these episodes, I've had some situations with the nuns and with the priests also with asking questions. And the way they blew up at me with their facial expressions just made me want to keep going until I got the right answer. Now, it was on my second grade teacher, who was a nun, that said, when you pray, Jesus isn't the guy. He's not the guy because he's too busy. Got everybody on the planet. Well, she didn't say terrific or terrible like Uncle Martin. She just said on this planet, everybody on this planet is praying to Jesus. He's busy. He's not going to get around to your prayer that you need. So what you do is you pray to Mother Mary. Mother Mary, she's right on the spot to help you out. Now, you know, as a child in second grade, I was pliable. So I said, okay. But not until later did I realize that that was a form as subtle as it is. And that's what prejudice is, kids. It's very subtle. As I brought up in the past episodes, with me being, oh, by the way, Rosalinda, the empath, she gave me a Christmas present. Do you know what it is? Know what she gave me? Do you know what she gave me? She gave me a candle. St. Martin. St. Martin's black. Did you know that? Kids, St. Martin's black. Well, I didn't know that when I was in first grade, when Sister put me as St. Martin. The St. Martin that made the dog the cat and the mouse eat out of the same bowl. Now, I had no idea of what prejudice was then until after what I told you in episode 3, and I'm not going to go over that again. But here I have another little story for you on this situation where this nun was telling me not to go for Jesus, but to go for Mother Mary. It was a mild dislike. See, a subtle, a mild dislike for Jesus. And to go for all the love for Mother Mary. Because she'll take care of you, but Jesus won't. Now, first of all, when you get into the esoteric things of people on that level, they're able to be anywhere at any time. Bada bing, bada boom. Anywhere, anytime. It's sort of like the archangels, the 7 archangels, Archangel Michael, Raphael, Jophiel, Gabriel, Zachiel, Shamiel, and Uriel. All the 7 archangels. You called any one of them, 1,000 people can call them, 1 billion people call them. They're there. So apparently the nun didn't know about this, and she had a limitation, and she was pawning that off on me as a child, that I had a, I guess you might say, a complex for a good portion of my life, until I could see psychologically. I don't know if she was a man hater. I'm sorry. That's not funny. Man haters and woman haters are, kids, very negative. Hating anything on any level is negative. Hating is a misqualifying of your energy on whoever's saying that you should hate. I don't care who it is. So once we see that, it's a misqualification to hate or to not love, which is qualifying your energy. We always get a choice with our thoughts, as I said before, the size of a mustard seed. You're planting that, and it's going to grow just like your thoughts are going to grow. As I said, the thought you have for positive is corn. The thought you have for negativity is weeds. And you're growing things all the time, kids, with your thoughts. Your thoughts, you're planting them inside your little world, or your little 3 acres that you got here. And these things are growing all the time. They grow more and more the more you think on what side you're thinking. If you keep going around in your mind on negative things, it grows more. You get a momentum of more and more. And when you start thinking positive things, those things start growing more and more. You have a momentum of either a positive or a negative momentum. Now, when these thoughts that are coming up as weeds, these negative things that are coming into your mind, you grab them. You grab them immediately. And you throw them into the flame. You throw them in. You just burn them up. And then eventually, you might not even have to do it more than a few times. Maybe you have to do it a dozen times. But whenever these negative thoughts come up, you grab them. I got you, buddy boy. And we're throwing you into the flame. And the positive things, you know what things are positive. You know what things are negative. That's all. And you always discern, hopefully, sooner than later. Now me, Uncle Martin, it took a lot of years to see that this nun was giving me some misinformation. Now, whether she was conscious of it or not, I don't know. I'm not going to be judging her. But she did lay a trip on me on a limitation that I didn't even realize until later on. We all have limitations, kids. And that's why Uncle Martin is Uncle Martin. Anonymous. No limitation. To the best of my ability. Whenever I have a limitation, excuse me, that comes in my way, I try to say, is that a limitation? Is someone telling me that I can't do something? Like a family member that told me a few years back when I said I was going to do some building on my property. I was going to go up 2, 3 stories and start building and all that. And a family member said, "You can't play with the big boys." And I thought, oh, well, okay, you know. Then I thought about it. As years go by. And I thought, well, I even knew then it was rather negative. But I fell into the trap of believing I couldn't play with the big boys. Yes, I can play with the big boys. And so can you kids. You can play with the big boys, even if you're a little mouse. You can play with the big boys without fighting or hurting each other. See, that's what I've been trying to get across. Even you little mice out there that are getting picked on by the bullies, the big boys, you can handle them by just following some of the little techniques that I've given you in the past. Whoever it is that's telling you you can't do something, you got to look at it as, I don't care who they are. You got to look at it as, that's awful limiting. That's awful limiting. That's negative. That's negative. Because anybody tells you can't do something is limiting you, all right? Now, when it comes to your guardians and parents, when they're saying you better look both ways on when you're crossing the street, absolutely. But I'm talking about other things that you're capable of doing. You're capable of doing anything when you have the faith that you can do it. And that's anything. Why in the Bible, that big book with many books in it, why is it, what is it? Yes, why? We know why, not yet. What is said 365 times in the Bible? What is it, Uncle Martin? What is it? 365 times in the Bible, it says specifically, do not be afraid. Why would it say that? Because as we well know, fear will stop you from growing, from achieving anything that you want. It'll stop you from thinking. It'll stop you from moving. It'll stop you from doing anything. So that's why 365 times it said, well, either basically do not be afraid, fear not. Same concept. So what is that saying to you, kids? It's saying that for 365 days, which happens to be a full year, know what you're supposed to be? You're supposed to be fearless. 365 days a year. That means the whole year. That means from this Christmas to next Christmas. You are now able to be fearless because you're not going to be afraid. So, I don't know if I've helped you on anything. Probably not telling you anything you don't already know. But there's so much around us every day that is contradicting what you already know within your heart, that you don't have to have that fear, even though they're pummeling you with it on a daily basis. You have to become strong and understand that fear is limiting and that it is not necessary any longer. Okay. So, on this Christmas day, I just want you to realize that it is better to give than it is to receive. And there was a great person here by the name of Jesus that showed us the way of love, understanding, love and peace, love and kindness, love and light. And when we start doing these things daily in our life, our faith is strengthened, first of all. A lot of the diseases or things that you're out of, disease can only exist if you're not at ease. And the only way you will be healed is once you become harmonically in harmony with your body, mind, soul, spirit. These all have to be in harmony. When these are not in harmony, discord sets in. And that discord is what is disease. And I'll go into that a little more down the road. But right now it's Christmas. And I want to say, Merry Christmas. And aloha until next Sunday. Be well.